Got my recording going. Good morning, everybody. This is Rama on Writing, coming to you live from beautiful Santa Fe, New Mexico. We are in the second day of our retreat here. We had several authors finish the first day, and I do have an old friend of mine who's working on book 2 or 3 or 4 by now. And I also have at the other side of the table here our first author to complete her book. So I think that we may start with her a little bit I'll just turn the laptop around and we can do it that way. Or if you want to come over here, we can. And this isn't necessarily related to procrastination, but we'll find a way that we can tie it in. So let me ask you the question, Tony. How long have you been procrastinating on writing this book?
Oh my goodness, years since I was in college, so 20 years, 30 years.
Well, give us your insight as to why it took you so long to sit down and do it.
Always being busy with other things and just not taking the time to sit down and write. I didn't know how to do it either. It's a totally new thing to me to write, and so I was unsure of what to do and how to do it.
Well, let me ask you the obvious question. Now that you've written it, how easy was it?
Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe once I got started. The big thing is having the guide. I was just giving Tom a hug down there and telling him, you're onto something here, because I really feel like I am able to understand. And I wrote my book. I finished before lunch on the first day. So it just came right out.
Well, let me ask another question while I got you here. What's your insight into the revision process thus far, just getting your teeth into it?
Well, it's very exciting. At first, when I said, oh no, this is the kind of thing I think that I would procrastinate about forever, is the actual revision and getting it out, so probably even just to read it, what I wrote. So I read what I wrote, and that was a little difficult. And then starting to do it was a little like, I don't want to do this, but I'm here to do this. And now that I'm kind of deep into that revision process, I'm so excited because I can see it coming together, and it's going to be really fantastic.
Sounds good, Tony. Thanks for contributing. You can go back to your revision now. I don't want to be the source of your procrastination.
Thanks.
Well, that was really appropriate for a couple of reasons, okay? I think that as a rule, the human species likes to make mountains out of molehills. Okay, and so there are 2 components that Tony talked about. One being that she didn't take the time to sit down and do it, and then when she actually did, it was a lot easier than we had imagined. I think that that's the root source of procrastination right there, is that we, kind of just make things seem a lot more difficult than they really are. And so I wanted to share that with you. And that was totally impromptu. It just seemed like it would be a good way of introducing the topic. Now, the other component that I want to talk about right off the bat is that we also are great at devising activities that we do to justify why we can't finish our book. Okay, we have a couple of authors right now that are deep into revision right now, and I can listen to them week after week, and essentially they're just using different words to tell me the same thing, and it gets really frustrating from my standpoint. And I've developed something that many of you have experienced. And I can listen to you as an author. I can listen to anyone tell me why they haven't gotten ahead, they haven't gotten further along in their process, they haven't finished. And I can listen to them explain all these great devices that they've created that makes them feel good about progressing ahead, when in reality those devices really aren't bringing them to completion. So as I say, I can listen to that all day long. I always end those conversations with this one statement. And for some of you, you've experienced that, others haven't. But that statement is, and when am I going to get that manuscript? So, I think that the heart of procrastination is because we don't put a timeline to completion of our projects, okay? And the reason we don't do that is because we fear that if we do, then someone's going to hold us accountable to that timeline, okay? And, the beauty about a timeline is that if you don't meet it, you can reset it. It's not, it's not like you get your fingers cut off or something like that. It's just that it does hold us more accountable if we start looking at those sorts of time frames. And, I'm great at talking about this stuff, but I am no better than anyone else at completing my project. So, I am not an expert at anything other than knowing how to do all the stuff that we're going to talk about today. Well, I wanted to share my friend Valerie here, because Valerie took a long time to get her first book published. And as I said, she and I used to joke an awful lot. But the important thing is that her first book is published now. So I want her to kind of share maybe why it took so long for her to do it, and also, how she stayed focused to actually get it done. Because there are many people that would have given up long before in this process. But one thing I can tell you is Valerie stuck to this, and in the time, she wrote 2 or 3 other books. Even though that one didn't get published, a couple other books were birthed in the time. So give us a little insight, Val.
What I come to the party with is pure, unadulterated fear. And I was just so fearful. What I was writing was dark. It is about a serial killer. It is about murder. It is about torture. And my whole life is based on, did you like me or would you like me? And I was reading all this stuff, and I was also, is this good enough? Was I ever going to be good enough? And all those combinations of things between, I would sit and write. I went to several seminars, and the first one, I was all pumped up, came back, and for about 2 weeks, and you could see it day by day by day. I was not getting into the author state and continuing that, and I was letting my left side going, is this sentence good enough? Is this sentence good enough? And so over 3 years, it took me 3 years, I went to my first seminar in 2010. I didn't actually publish the book till last year in November. And because I kept going over the script and changing a line and changing a line and line by line and changing a word. And it was just fear, and fear of not good enough, and fear of what you will think of me. And those things are hard to get over. And I kept going to seminars, getting pumped up again. And to get in the author state, I would write other books. And then I would go back, and then I would be like fearful again. What helped is that I just kept going. Sometimes I would stop for months. You wouldn't hear from me for months, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would start again. But one thing I have is tenaciousness, and I am a tenacious person. And through that whole process, I also come to learn your voice, every single one of you, your voice deserves to be heard. And you should know that. Your voice deserves to be heard out in the world. Whether the people like it or not doesn't matter, but it's just that you deserve to be heard in the world, and your voice matters. And once you adopt that, you can rewrite and keep going.
Thanks, Val. I'm going to let you go back to work because I want you to be able to take advantage of the retreat environment as much as you can to stay focused. Thanks.
Thank you.
I just kind of wanted to share, some situations that, we have here in this moment. And I think that all of us are great at procrastinating, and all of us are tenacious. I think that many of us are afraid about whether our work is good enough, or whether we're going to piss somebody off. Now, of course, Rama doesn't care if he pisses people off, and I think that this is a really good concept for us to internalize, because one of the things that happens when you write a book is that there are some people that aren't going to like it. Okay, and that's not necessarily a reflection on us as the author. That's really a reflection on them. And in my case, the people that didn't like my book and complained about it for all the right reasons. And so, you can piss people off in the process. And I'm sure Curtis, when he makes jokes on liberals, there's some liberals that get all pissed at what he's saying. Not to say that they won't tune in to hear or to read what he has to say. Okay, if you look at how talk radio has developed, half the people tune in because they get pissed at the people that are the DJs of the talk radio. Well, we can borrow a lesson from them. And so I think that we all have to step into our author shoes and accept that in conveying our voice, there's no need to be afraid of who we're going to piss off. Okay. Now, getting back to the main topic at hand, why do we procrastinate? I mean, I look at some of the faces here, and I do see that some books have taken a long time to create, and some people are still, are still at the very beginning, and you can see the struggle happen, and all. And some people are way down the timeline and have kind of bucked up and realize many of these things. But we all struggle with bringing projects to completion. It's not an easy thing to do. And if you look back on, the things that we've done in life, there's certain things that have taken us a long time. There's certain things that we started, we never completed. Well, let's all make a pact that this isn't going to happen with our books. That for all the books that we've started, we're going to complete them. It may take a year longer than we had anticipated, but we're all going to get through this process. And we have a great community of people that, have gone through different levels of this kind of frustration in this process for all different kinds of reasons. And so, there's always a support group for you. If you have a time when you feel that it's all in vain and that this book isn't going to get done, reach out to this group, because we're all in it the same way. We're all here to get our books done, and we're all here to support one another. And I love this group of authors in this community that we've developed. And I see all of you struggle. I see myself struggle. And, the only thing that I can tell you, if I can finish a book and get it published, then anybody can do this. I have no exceptional quality. I don't have any particular stick-to-itiveness. It's just something that I've always wanted to do. And I think that all of you are in that same vein, that writing these books is like on the bucket list. Getting a book published is on the bucket list. And I can't tell you, for those of you who haven't gotten their book published yet, I can't tell you how good it feels once you get that first book done, and what it opens up in your mind. That, well, I can write a book about this, I can write a book about that. All those ideas that you've had, for the 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years become a reality then once you get that first one done. The other thing that I'm going to tell you, and this one's really hard to accept, okay? And many of you are going to be pissed that I say this, but your first book is not going to be your best. So get it done with, get it published, and get on to book number 2. Book number 2 will be better. You'll have your sea legs, your author's sea legs done, and it will be a different experience. It may not be any easier because we're all great procrastinators, but it's a whole different experience. And the level of confidence that you have on book number 2 is a whole different game. So, you can, as I say, we're all great at making up excuses and reasons and things to do to keep that book from getting published. But, the ones we come up with for book number 2 are a lot different than the ones we came up with book number 1. And that just shows how creative we really are in this process. Okay, well, I want to kind of unmute a couple of people one by one, because I have a couple of people that have gone through various scenarios. So I want to get them to share their experiences a little bit, so that the newbies in this game of bringing your book to completion can realize that, hey, it's not easy for us to get this done. So first off, I'm going to unmute Curtis here. Or, Curtis, I'll let you up. Oh, there you go. You're unmuted. Okay, now Curtis is working on book number 3 now. He's got 2 published. Curtis and I joke a lot because our political views are different, but I admire him because I've always wanted to be a satirist as well. And so Curtis, give us a little insight into the difference that you experienced from book 1 to book 2 to book 3.
Okay, thanks, Rama. Well, the first book I wrote actually I did not do as part of one of Tom's writer's retreats. I actually attended Tom's 2-night classes on writing and publishing at Paradise Valley Community College, and then came home after those and spent the next few weeks putting a book together, and then writing the book, and then contacting Tom and going through the public. That book became a book really without going through the retreat process. Then book number 2, I came out of a retreat I attended in Fountain Hills, and I think what was interesting out of that is I got the book done, and it was just about the time that my first book was going through the publishing process, and I was working on wrapping that up and starting to work on the promotional piece of my first book. And so once the book number 2 was done, it kind of sat there for a while, and I didn't do any revision for it because I was spending all of my free time on putting together and working on the promotional part for my first book. So it kind of sat there for a while, and it actually turned out to be kind of a good thing because as it was a political-based book, as you well know, I ended up adding a couple of chapters to it based on what was happening in the political scene. It was going through the 2012 presidential election, so I added, I think, 3 chapters to it after the retreat. So I think for me, kind of setting it aside for a little bit because I was working on book 1 actually turned out to be advantageous And I'm kind of going through that process with the book that I wrote up in the Sedona retreat in August, in that I've done very little at this point on the revision process because I'm spending all of my free time working on my radio pieces and my blogging, and so that's taking up all of my time in the evenings and on weekends, which is not a bad thing. And so so the book that I wrote is kind of sitting there percolating a little bit, still waiting to get into the revision process.
Thanks, Curtis. I think in your case that you could be waiting for some more material. We just had another election, and boy, oh boy, you can't make this stuff up.
That's very true. So I think there could definitely be some more there. You're right.
Well, thanks for sharing. As I say, Curtis is well down the rabbit hole from most of us. He's working on book number 3. He has done a heck of a lot with promotion, and I'm just going to share this so that you guys out there can kind of get an indication of what you may do yourself. Curtis writes regularly for other bloggers. He has, regular columns now, so it's taken him time to do that. He does talk radio a little bit now. I think he's got a show every week or maybe twice a week now. He's done a lot of this sort of stuff to build his identity, and it does take time. So, if you want to be successful, you kind of have to sit in for the long haul here. And, I admire all the stuff he does, even though he and I we don't share the same political view. I really think that at some time he and I may have a show on, the right and the left of politics, because, that would be a lot of fun for both of us to play with. And, so you kind of have to grow outside your initial box. I'm sure that when he started this process, he did not envision what course it would take. And now he's got a firm direction, and he's moving ahead every week, every day. He's got things that he does to move his book forward. So thanks for being a good role model for us, Curtis. I want to unmute, I'm going to unmute my 2 Toms, but I'm going to start with Tom Pitts right now. And okay, did he unmute? Okay, Tom Pitts, you are unmuted, although you frozen a little bit. Now, Tom has taken a long time to get this book out for a lot of different reasons. And so I kind of just like him to share a little bit of what he's gone through, because he's gone through a lot to get this book out. And, the fact is that it's about to come out now, and he's stuck to it. And I think that that's the big thing, is that if you stick to it, you will get your book done. So, Tom, give us a little insight.
I probably the sticking to it is the most important. And also, this is this 3rd book, 2.5 books later. I wrote the 1st book, didn't finish the revision, started a 2nd book, dropped that, and then wrote this 3rd book. And I think that got me past the "this isn't good" hurdle, as I kept getting better. And fear was a big part of it, and the discovery, and that fear of people are going to get mad at me was pretty huge. And I actually did things to get past that. I want to go to a reunion and talk to the people. It was a reunion of my unit I was with in Vietnam, but it could be any group that was going to be impacted by what I said in my book. And I just talked to them. And of course, it wasn't nearly as bad. No one got mad at me, or as I thought it was going to be. And sometimes I just stop beating myself up for taking so long, because there were certain emotional hurdles I had to get over. And even though I wasn't working on the book, I mostly was motivated by getting over this particular crisis, or so I could get back to the book. And a lot of it related to that. And just admitting that this was huge. Publishing was huge for me. It was a huge stress, and that I needed to handle that. It wasn't just going to go away. And that has done the most to help get me past the procrastination, to understand it was real. There was some spiritually, psychological, emotional basis to it. And there's you really have to take steps to get past the procrastination, because it's not just gonna go. And I'm feeling that it's getting worth it. Like Tom Carroll just put up. Even my blog posts and Facebook posts and tweets was like, hey, that feels good, because it's kind of a mini publishing light. And I just wanted to say again that we're gonna procrastinate. It's just how much. And about these goals, when we set a goal, I got to setting goals and got so good at blowing them off, I stopped setting goals because it was just like, I don't know, be meaningless. And then I started getting responsibilities, and the Saturday webinars have been key to that. Every Saturday, I remember I'm making a run at being an author, and I think about that during the week, you know. Secondly, a good friend who's been a responsibility from time to time, that reporting in, he said, just sit down every morning and treat this as a job. You have a job you show up for every morning at 9 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and you work for 3 hours at that job. And that got me past, so I don't have to be inspired. I don't have to like this. I don't have to be anything. I just have to show up. And I find that advice from several successful authors reading what they've written. Just show up. And those, I got comfortable with being inspired, 3 or 4 times a month, and the rest of the time just grind it out. And I'm glad I did. Almost up and running. Man, I get, and the website, putting up the website, and all of that was part of it. When I, some of it was a little easier than others because it wasn't as threatening. But a big, huge part of it was actually working with Gwen, being consistent until I had a little bit of a breakthrough and got some good habits going here. But it's very, very, very important to address that spiritual and psychic journey to get through the procrastination. That's about it for me.
Hey, thanks, Tom. I do appreciate you contributing. I tend to put people on the spot. None of this is ever rehearsed. And so it's good to allow that to come out in the moment. Tom and I have been working together for a bit. He's blown through some timelines, as he said. He's stuck to it, though, and I think that's the point that I really want everyone to realize, that if you stick to this writing, you will get your book done. You will get it published, if that's the goal that you have set for yourself. We all go through a lot of changes in this time while we get get through our life. And we all can come up with devices that can both take us away from being productive and can also make us more productive. Okay, so let's all make a pact to work with those devices that will help us be more productive and get this project done and on to book number 2, book number 3, book number 4. One of the things, and you've heard me say this over and over again, the biggest thing that you can do to help promote book number 1 is to write book number 2. So that's what I'm doing myself. I'm getting book number 2 done, and it's taken a long time. The information that is the root of book number 2, I wrote in my first retreat back in June of 2011. It was not something that I had intended to ever write about. I hadn't even thought about it for 20, 25 years. And that's what book number 2 is going to be. So, if we stick with these projects, they will get done. Eventually, we'll buck up, we'll step up to the plate, we'll put on our author shoes and our funny hats, and we will get these books done. So thanks again, Tom. I'm going to unmute Tom Carroll here. What happened to my meeting? There it is. You guys disappeared for a second. I'm going to unmute Tom Carroll. And, Tom has actually a real interesting story. When we first started, I think Tom and I were in the same workshop, and, we both really kind of struggled in that workshop. We created something, but it wasn't what we ended up by publishing. And so I kind of like Tom to share why he chose to publish what he did after writing his first draft at the retreat, because I think that this is really a telling, and a great story. So again, I'm putting Tom on the spot here. Tom, how you doing today?
Fine, Rama. Nice to see you all this morning.
So Tom, give us a little insight into how the book, how your book idea shifted and why.
Well, as you say, what I wrote at the retreat was nothing like the book that actually ended up being published. As you and I have talked over the course of time, quite a bit of time actually, that first book was really cleaning the pipes. I had too many thoughts in my head, and didn't even couldn't realize it until I had spilled all the trash out and had one of the editors come back and label it for just what it was, trash. And after I got over the insult of that and recognized the truth of his words, I picked up the Oracle, which was actually fairly well formed in its own way, the core ideas, and realized that the fastest way to get something out was to take a project that had already presented itself, already essentially written itself. Now take this and use the Tom Bird format, use the encouragement of this community to pull all the pieces together, to fine-tune it, and so that's essentially it. I needed a chance to get everything out, to get calibrated, to begin to focus in on what was actually important to me, what was actually of potential importance to readers, and so the Oracle was the product of that, and that's all I can think to answer in response to your question.
Tom, you gave a great answer, and I think that I'm going to meet you back up here because it seems like I get a better connection. What we have to do sometimes in this process is we do need to empty the cup. And I know that I had to. I was actually one of the few people that redrafted my first manuscript before it went into publishing. Essentially what I created initially was not what I published, and it just wasn't full enough. It wasn't on on topic enough. I mean, it was the right topic. It just wasn't the right content. And so, there is nothing wrong with starting from scratch on an idea that we've already written a few times and get to, the real guts of it. Some of us take longer and have to go through, different steps. And Tom Bird's method is great because, what's an extra 3 days here, 3 days there? I mean, in reality, it makes it more attainable. We don't necessarily have to take something and work with it for 20 years before we're happy with it. We can just say, hey, look, this first draft sucks. Let me rewrite it. I can guarantee you that the second time you write it, it'll be a lot better than the first time. And, we all go through our own process in this game. Okay, well, are there any other comments, questions, concerns about moving forward? You can unmute yourself and you can ask. Otherwise, I'm going to go back to revising my second book, or I'm actually filling it out with my content. So anyone got some questions or comments? Boy, I guess we're all procrastinating on that one, huh? Okay, well, I see there are a couple of people that are going to be in our Sedona retreat on remote. Ashira and Amy, I will speak with you this week, and we'll talk about the remote. We're getting all that information together. We don't have an office manager, so everything is in total disarray, but we'll get it together for that retreat, and we'll get your books out there and determine what direction you all want to go. I don't see anyone else that is in that retreat, but some of you are phone numbers and without names. So if anyone that's coming to that remote retreat in Sedona wants a call this week, just drop me an email. And I'll just ask one more time, does anyone have any great procrastination techniques that they'd like to share with the group? Because we can all use some good insight into how we can procrastinate better. We're all very good at it, but we can do better. Okay, I will be back next week. I'm not sure what our topic will be. I'm going to try to get Gwen to make her appearance, which she promised me she wouldn't chicken out on, but sometimes you have other responsibilities. I understand that. For those of you who were on board last week, I took my responsibility seriously. I was a little bit out of it from Halloween. I just had too much fun on Halloween. That's our biggest holiday in Arizona. And everyone, have yourself a good week. Get something done with your book. I know, Tom Pitts, your book is going to be launched pretty soon. So I'm going to unmute you real quick, and you can tell everyone when your book is going to be launched. When's that launch date, Tom?
Black Friday. Day after Thanksgiving. It's,
oh, well, that's coming up quick.
Yeah.
Now we.
We're I was a little too tight, and actually, I think Denise Casino and I thought, you know what, Black Friday is not a bad launch day. It's a good day to get in there for the Christmas shopping.
Rama and Tom, can I ask a couple questions? First of all, I want to make mention of the fact that daylight savings time surprised me. If you're Pacific time, it started an hour early, so it's starting at 9 o'clock out here or 8 o'clock rather than 9. That first webinar. Second, Tom, what's involved with you with the launch? Are you making an event out of it? And if you are, what's involved?
I'll go ahead and make it a Facebook event, but there's I'm getting up lists on Amazon that connect my book people who bought this book also bought that book. It's three different things. Denise has to up your rankings on Amazon. I've been adding, following targeted tweets, however you say that. So I've built up some following on Twitter. But mainly this is going to be an Amazon #1 bestseller launch. I'm not going to do anything locally. I have to get some reviews up. I'm going to start contacting perhaps talk shows, radio talk shows. I know one, Casey Cowers. He does actually, it's a book interview, writer-author interview show. So it's mainly a Amazon.com Denise Casino #1 Amazon bestseller launch.
Great.
And he pointed out that this is the beginning. This is not where you quit. This is where you hit your stride and keep going.
Would love to hear from you. Would love to hear back.
Thank you. And I'll get back to you when you sort of scared me on what Tom and Carol and I had some private emails on what I'm going through spiritually, and I'm like, it kind of scared me, Tom. So I'll get back at you with some of that. Okay.
Oh,
It was,
absolutely.
yeah. Okay. So Black Friday, I just bought, oh gosh, somebody's book on Amazon this morning. I forgot who launched. But anyway,
Christina Vondel launched this week. Her book is called Rewrite Love. And, that's another book kind of like yours, Tom Carroll. That was an old book kind of repackaged and reworked over time. And, I'm going to get her to do her interview in the next week or two, and we can hear some of her stories. She did do a little presentation earlier, but it was related more to timeline, and now I want her to get into her content. One of the components that Tom Pitts mentioned that may be helpful for you, Tom Carroll, is there's something on Amazon called List Mania. And you may need to Google that to find out where it is inside of Amazon. And one of the components, and Curtis, you might be interested in this also, because I know you've got a couple of books out there and can always use a little bit of help with your Amazon sales. List Mania is a way where you create a number of lists inside of Amazon. And the intent is that whenever those books are looked at, your book is on the bottom saying people that like this book might also like my book. Okay, so what you would want to do is to hit some of the big boys in your genre and get your book associated with theirs, so that when someone looks at one of Glenn Beck's books or something like that for you, Curtis, you might have your book listed on the bottom there. And for Tom Carroll, some of those big guys like Deepak Chopra or some of these big names, your book can be associated with theirs. And what Denise said is that the more lists you put together, the more appearances your book is going to have. So I think she mentioned that Deb McTernan did like 50 different lists. It's something that you can do on a regular basis once you get started. It's one of those tricks, those Amazon tricks. And Denise has a whole hat full of those tricks. Every time I speak with her, she's got something else that she's talking about, and it's like, oh my gosh, where did you find out about this stuff? Well, she spends a lot of time inside of Amazon. She readily says that these tools are available to anybody, but nobody takes advantage of them.
Yes, I got it. I want to plug Denise Casino. It might seem like a lot of money at first, but I just look forward to when we get on the program, we once a week now. It's about the 5th week to get that launch going. And every time I meet with her, I feel like my knowledge about social media marketing and just e-marketing in general goes up, and I feel more relaxed. And I'm sometimes ask her, whoa, what about this? She said, just don't worry about that. Nobody's going to see it. What happens is ... So it's really worth it if you can spring for the her fee. It does a lot more for you than just get your book on Amazon #1 bestseller. It takes away a lot of the fear of the social marketing. It's just such a good program.
Sounds good, Tom. And I'm going to end with this comment. And Tom mentioned this, but he didn't do it with the same intent that I'm going to do. As I've worked with the authors over the past literal 4 years, I've seen a lot of projects stall for silly reasons. And the only advice that I can give you all is that most of that stuff doesn't make any difference. You can spend hours trying to figure out what font your book should be. Little tiny things like that can stall us big time. And the bottom line is that, sure, we want this to be your book and to be done the way you want it. But in most cases, none of that stuff is going to make any difference in the long term. So don't paralyze yourself over the silly stuff. We got lots of other reasons to paralyze ourselves. So let's determine which ones are the silly ones and say, yeah, who cares what font it is, what size it is, what color it is. Let's just get our content down and let the program sort out how it all comes together. So everybody, have yourself a good week. Ashira and Amy, I will be speaking with you Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. We'll be talking about the remote component of the upcoming retreat. And the rest of you, let's get those books done. Tom Pitts, we're real close to uploading it. James, your book is a long book. The style editor is reading it right now. I had two go to her at the same time. He said, I'm going to knock off that big one first. So you're getting knocked off, and everybody enjoy your week. Fall is here, and pretty soon winter will be, and anyone can come visit me in Hawaii this winter. I'll be there. Take care, everyone.
Thanks.
Next week.